Easter video this year, I'm going to be making Osterfladen from Helvetic Kitchen by Andie. This is a great book that I recommend, but the Helvetic Kitchen website is an even better resource if you want to get into Swiss cooking. It has recipes, the books Andie has written, as well as an extensive list of other books and resources that go really deep into the cuisine. It even has recommendations for like the books that are used for teaching Swiss cooking in Swiss culinary schools. This recipe is a tart that is traditionally served at Easter time in Switzerland. The filling is very Central European in its flavor profiles, and that it's a vanilla-scented semolina custard and then highlighted with rum-soaked raisins. Depending on your garnishing skills, it also presents very elegantly. So let's go ahead and hop into the kitchen and get started on this delicious Alpine treat. To get started, we're going to make a simple tart dough. And we're going to begin with 1 2/3 cups of sifted flour here. I've also got 1/3 cup of very cold butter, and we're just going to go, that I've cut up into small pieces, and we're just going to go ahead and put that in. And while we're doing this part, go ahead and put a 1/2 cup of water in the refrigerator or the freezer to start getting it really cold. I've done this in previous videos before, but it's just when you're working with pie or tart dough, you want to get the ingredients really cold to get them to incorporate properly. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and just massage this butter into the flour until we get the texture of sort of rough sand or at least small flakes of butter mixed in throughout all of the flour. Now we're going to put 1/2 cup of this chilled water into the dough. And I'll reserve the extra just in case this is not wet enough. But now we're just going to mix it by hand. And a dough is going to form here. There we go. It all came together into a solid disc here. Making tart and pie dough is actually really quite easy if you're beginning to get into baking and stuff like that. Pies and tarts are, in my opinion, a pretty good starting place. So we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up. And we're going to put this to chill in the refrigerator for at least an hour. Now we're going to roll the tart dough. So go ahead and flour your working surface. Make sure you flour your rolling pin as well. And we're just going to start working this out here. And we want this to work for an 11-inch tart pan. So I'm going to go ahead and continue rolling this out, and we'll skip to the part where we're filling the pan. All right, I have finished rolling out the dough, and now we're going to very carefully, because this is a bit of a soft tart dough, drape this into the pan. And again, if you've seen any of my previous tart videos, for now, actually having it overhang, but make sure it gets deep into the corners here is the best way to go about this. And I tend to prefer to let it be generous on draping in. If there's a little extra sitting in the corners, that's fine. And then once the pan is completely filled, we're going to use the rolling pin to do the edges of the tart. And it'll make it come off nice and smooth for you. Up next, we're going to repeatedly prick the dough in a bunch of places here. And it's okay to go all the way through with your fork, but this just ensures that you don't end up with bubbles or other things that deform your tart. Now I've got some apricot jam, and make sure you get it. Sometimes it can be a little stiff, so make sure you swirl it around with a fork or something to get the stiffness out of it before. And now we're going to spread this all along the bottom, and what this is going to do is keep the dough from getting soggy once we actually have the liquid filling to the tart. I've put the tart shell in the refrigerator, and we'll just leave it there until we're ready to use it. This next part is optional, but if you want it to be truly authentic, then you probably want to do it. This is called Plumping the Raisins, and it's a very European thing to do for a lot of their desserts. So a lot of times they use raisins soaked in rum, and I've got some vanilla rum here since this is a dessert. And we're just going to let these raisins soak in some rum. So you can just set these aside and let them continue to absorb liquid as we work on the other aspects of the filling. We're not going to use them until a bit later. Now we're going to make the tart filling. So we're going to take a cup and 2/3 of whole milk. Put that in. All right, and then we're going to put about a teaspoon of vanilla. That's way more than a teaspoon. But I don't care. I love vanilla, and I don't think you can add too much personally. And now we're going to add just a pinch of salt, and we're going to bring this to a boil. Now that our milk mixture is up to a boil, we're going to put in 4 tablespoons of semolina flour, and you need to make sure you're whisking this from time to time until this starts to thicken so that the bottom doesn't burn. This mixture has just started to thicken, so now we're going to turn the temperature down to medium-low and let this continue to cook on that lower temperature here for a few minutes. Look at how much this has thickened up here. It's looking and smelling really good. So now we're going to put in 3 tablespoons of sugar, as well as 4 tablespoons of mixed ground nuts, and the juice and the zest of half of a lemon. And we're going to get that fully incorporated here. And we're going to let this cook for just a minute or 2 more to get everything fully incorporated. And then we're going to take this off of heat and let this cool down for 10 minutes. While the stovetop mixture is cooling, we're going to go ahead. We've got 3 eggs that we've separated into yolks and whites here. And we're going to go ahead and whip those whites into stiff peaks. I know this seems weird, but now we're going to go ahead and add the yolks in. And then we're going to whip it once again to incorporate this mixture. All right, now we're going to fold in the egg mixture, which will add a lot of air to our tart filling. And we just want to use, I switched to a spatula for this. We don't want to whisk at this point. We just want to sort of fold everything together because we want to pop as few of those air bubbles as possible. And we're also going to go ahead and put our rum-soaked raisins in as well. And then we're just going to start folding until you only need to mix this just enough until everything gets incorporated. So you don't need to mix super hard. Here is the wonderfully chilled tart shell. And now we're just going to fill it with the wonderful concoction that we just made on the stove. Now, my experience with egg white fillings is almost always they puff up a lot in the oven and then they condense back down once they're taken out and they begin to cool. This is a pretty viscous tart filling, so make sure you manually smooth it out so you get an even distribution of the filling in on all areas of the tart. So now we're going to go ahead and put this in the oven at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. I just pulled this out of the oven and this looks identical to the one that's in the book. So excuse me for being very proud of myself and really doing good on following directions, and on the author obviously for writing very good directions. So we're not quite done with this yet though. We're going to let this cool all the way back down to room temperature before we do the final garnish. This tart has really browned up nicely since I've let it cool down to room temperature, but we're not quite done yet. I've just used straight up printer paper, and we're going to make this really look like an Easter dessert here. And I just printed out a little bunny and printed and cut out a little laurel leaf here. So you just want to get those as flat as possible. I've got some confectioner's sugar in my sugar mill here, and staying as close as possible to the surface, we're just going to put just a light layer of confectioner's sugar. Just to make that wonderful little outline. And then I just moved the laurel to the other side, and we'll do it again. Gaps here. All right, now very carefully remove your stencils here. I messed up that little bit here, but you can dab off. You can dab off. Just get a very lightly moist paper towel, and you can dab off this sugar here. Let's see if I can remove the laurel without messing this up. All right, and that is our Osterfladen. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I think I'm going to make some more Swiss recipes. I've been to Switzerland, in the German region of Switzerland, and their food is really good. So I'm going to check out some more of their cuisine, and I'll be happy to bring it to you guys. In the meantime, if you enjoy my videos, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.